Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Entrepreneur Essentials here at T-Werx. Once again, my name is Jeff Kikel. I started this show so that I could bring to you different entrepreneurs around the community who have gone from corporate life or some other field and have decided to become entrepreneurs or have over many years. So my guest today is my friend Terry Grier. So Terry is a commercial insurance agent. He is actually our insurance agent as well. So it'll be fun today to talk to him both about his entrepreneurial journey, but also we'll learn a little bit about some of the common pitfalls that he sees with new entrepreneurs from the insurance industry.
Absolutely.
So thank you for coming out today, Terry. Really appreciate having you here.
Absolutely, Jeff.
So let's get started.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. How did you end up in your current business?
Absolutely. It's funny using that term entrepreneur in my case because I don't always see myself as an entrepreneur since I work for an agency in the whole way, not to get into the weeds with that. But I definitely work for myself and whatever activities I'm doing, that's what generates my income, and I think that's the key to kind of like what puts someone in that entrepreneurial bucket, right? It's like if your activities are generating the income. In other words, if you did nothing, you would get $0, right? That's a hard place to be.
Sure.
And getting your mind around what that means. So for me, just to backtrack, I've only had 3 jobs in my life, just 3. And insurance is my 3rd one, and I'm 48 years old. So when I was in my young 20s and thought I knew everything and thought I was smarter than my own father, which was a mistake, I got this job in a staffing company. And we were literally interviewing people and then calling and selling to companies to place, receptionist or a data entry clerk back in the 90s, things like that. And I remember seeing a report for the first time that had the word GM and a little $sign being gross margin dollars if you're in business at all. And so that's essentially, the profit, if you will, per hour. And I didn't because I didn't go to business school. So I had no idea what that meant. And that was the first thing I was like, okay, so then I get the game. We're billing someone at $15 an hour, we're paying 10, and then there's some costs, workman's comp and stuff. Mm-hmm. So my margin is X amount of dollars, $3 an hour, let's say. And then when I figured out that there was a percentage, and then so all I had to do was drive top line revenue and I can make more money. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's where it clicked. So then I started playing a game with myself. Every time I walked into like a taco stand, I started thinking, okay, what are the fixed costs? I went to business school in my own 20s, and I was like, okay, so this place probably is costing them $1,500 to rent, and and they're selling tacos for this, and how much does it cost? And I'd play those games all the time in my head till it really burned in. And I was like, I wouldn't open a taco stand. I don't think I could generate enough tacos to make enough money.
Love it.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, this is not scalable. It's just not, and so it really made me see the world differently. However, 9/11 happened, and after 9/11, the economy went really bad really quick. If you weren't around back then, it in Austin, we've been enjoying such prosperity in Austin, and in the Austin area, Cedar Park, it's been amazing. But it was down, and I jumped into the corporate world because that's what I thought I should do, not from a dollars and cents. Well, yeah, from a dollars and cents. It's like I met Vicky. I wanted to get married. I wanted to buy a house. And I was like, oh, this job, stability. It was UPS, and I was a sales guy, Big Brown, and was there for about 8 years. That taught me discipline, hard work, working remotely, traveling, and still being responsible for a lot of things. But it also taught me the grind of corporate America, just grinding me down to where I didn't feel like I was making an impact in my community. And that's when the opportunity for insurance presented itself with Jason Madison and Mike Colvin with Strive Insurance, because I'd known them for a while. And they were like, come work for us, come work for us. But being a 1099 employee and going from salary, stock, health insurance to zero is a big leap. Is a big leap. So, but that's how I got to where I'm at. I'm in my 6th year and not looking back. I'm happy.
Yeah, well, and I think that's for all of us. I honestly spent close to 30 years working in corporate type jobs or working for someone else, and it really took me until about 2 or 3 years ago to step back and say, you know what, I'd rather work for myself. And I found in the end that it was maybe that's why I wasn't as happy always working for somebody, was the fact that I enjoy working for myself. So
Yeah, absolutely.
You sometimes have to make it, or rip the Band-Aid off and
Yeah.
see if it works.
So that's why I totally agree with you. And if I knew how hard it would have been, I probably wouldn't have had the nerve to do it. But I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I just jumped in first and had that personality to do that and figured out how to swim. But what I was going to say is, based upon that journey that I've had, in my world as a commercial insurance agent, I can work with a lot of different types of people, but I have a soft spot for the entrepreneur and for this and for the person who understands how to take activity and make a profit, and also has a heart for giving back to their community and being involved in the community. So I tend to gravitate to that personality. I could work with large companies or corporations that have multi-level decision makers and things like that, but I tend to work in that sweet spot of 50 employees or less, and in my community in the area, professional type service type companies, and people that are just like-minded, because I get them.
Yeah.
At least I feel like I get them, and that's what I like.
Same thing here. Okay, so Terry, tell me a little bit about, now let's transition into talking about your business and commercial insurance, and what are some things that you find with entrepreneurs as we're starting businesses, or maybe we're new in business, that are mistakes or challenges we have from a commercial insurance standpoint?
Absolutely. So I'm going to lead with my best advice and give that first. And that is, when you are writing out your scope of business and your scope of services, you need to engage an insurance agent, not to purchase a policy, but to discuss what you're planning on doing. I'm sure you probably are consulting an attorney or a CPA. There's probably a host of professionals that you're doing, but get out there and get a cup of coffee with someone like myself, because there have been times where I've already started the company, they're in process, and then they get a contract and there's insurance requirements, and then they come to talk to me, and the scope of work that they've outlined is not insurable, or the insurable risk is so high. If they would have made some modifications to their scope of work, it would have fit into a box a little bit easier, and it would have maybe either cost them less or been a little bit less painful to get an insurance policy for that. So I would just have a conversation to see if you're opening a coffee shop, obviously probably not needed. You know that one day you'll be able to get insurance. But if you're in a professional service, advice giving, things like that, or if you're in technology and you're cutting edge and you're trying to push the envelope, disrupt the marketplace, whatever the case may be, insurance is a pretty old school in a box kind of business, and you want to make sure that they are there for you. So the sooner that you can get into a relationship, into a conversation, it'll put you at peace and know that you'll be able to scale your business when needed.
Awesome. So tell me about your process. So typically when you're sitting down with somebody, explain what because I've been through this. So, tell me about your process that you would normally have when you're working with somebody, let's say, that's starting a business. So what type of questions would you be asking?
Well, the first one I start with is, it's really quite simple. I was just having a conversation on Tuesday with someone that's starting a business, and I asked for them to tell me their story, because instead of me peppering them with questions, so they kind of tell me their story of what they're doing, what they've done, and I'm listening for triggers, because in other words, triggers as in, are they hiring employees, where they plan on working, are they having a space, multiple spaces, working from home. I'm listening for potential risk issues, and sometimes when I ask them the questions directly, I get yes or no, or very narrow scope, versus when I ask, tell me what's going on, tell me your story, what kind of timeline are you on, things like that. It starts unfolding and allows me to direct the conversation so that I can help them understand their risk. Because there's always risk involved, right? Life is about risk. Business, there is risk, and insurance is a way to transfer that risk. You might not want to pay the cost to transfer that risk, right? There might be some risks that you're okay with assuming yourself, but at least you should understand what those risks are. And so employees, obviously, if you have a location, do you have property? Do you have property that's moving, or is this always in one location? Understanding the difference between general liability being property and bodily injury damage versus something like what we do, where we need errors and omissions because we're giving advice and there could be something we say that causes a financial impact on someone. I mean, a whole host of things like that. So, maybe I didn't answer the nuts and bolts questions precisely, but I tend to lead them through kind of a conversation of a process and just
which I think works. I mean, I think it's much easier than you just sitting there with a questionnaire. Okay, tell me about this. Tell me about that. Just tell me your story, and you'll probably pick out those bits and pieces. And
depending upon what you do or what they do, unfortunately, in the world of insurance, there's not just one application. Like, everybody's going to have their name and their phone number and their email address, but the scope of work and you subcontract. I mean, we can go through a million things, but depending upon what type of activities you're going to be doing is going to direct the conversation to a certain place, essentially.
Excellent. So can you tell me a little bit about what's exciting in your world today? I know saying insurance and exciting is not always that way, but
I'm pretty pumped. I'm pumped for 2017. Had a good year. It's always hard not to let my ego get too much in the way when I'm growing, knowing that I'm in Austin, Texas, where we're all growing and are successful. So how much of that is that if I did zero, right, would I still grow? Potentially, yes. But I had a great year last year, Jeff, and I'm looking forward to exciting 2017. One of the things that I'm doing, which I'm excited about being here, and I love this idea, is video. I think video on Facebook, video, the way Instagram Stories is developing, people on YouTube, the way that you're able to establish trust and to get your message out is just phenomenal, right? There's always the written word because Google controls SEO, and not to get all into marketing speak, but there's an element of search there. But I think more and more we are impacted as I know I am when I'm watching videos and I'm seeing someone and I feel like that I'm connected with them even though I've never met them face to face. So I am going to be deploying more video in 2017. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, which I think is fun for all of us. I mean, I think that was what I saw last year was the talk that this is going to be the year of video.
2017, you mean?
2017.
Absolutely.
And so, I felt the same way. I mean, that's why we started this show in about November, was that very thing. Let's get the word out there. And I think this is fun. And we've had a lot of positive comments about these shows where, wow, that's kind of cool that I get to see somebody, later in their career of starting a business, and I'm maybe way at the beginning of mine.
Absolutely. So. And I would encourage your viewers, if I can speak to them, Jeff's got this, I mean, if you could see this, it is professional, right? Nice lights and everything, but I'm telling you, with that phone in your hand, you can make such an impact. And I would just encourage you to stop trying to think through things too much, or and I'm talking to myself here too, or come up with some big scheme that A is going to go to B that's going to lead to C. Just start taking action. And it's the beauty of, 5 years ago we were worried about social media because, if I put something on the internet, it's going to be there forever. Well, now it's there for about 5 seconds. So if you do something that's kind of silly, more than likely it's going to be forgotten about in 48 hours, and you can put something else that's cooler and learn from that, and then just build and build and build.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, I think more and more video that's out there, yes, yours is not going to be out there for a very long period of time unless you curate it someplace like our website or whatever.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I mean, it's there, but I'm just saying that
and I will say, we'll link to Terry's websites and everything else, but yeah, he does a ton, especially Facebook Live, and we just did one right before we sat down and did this, where he was actually putting it out there. So it's a lot of fun to be able to do things like that and talk about what's going on in your life immediately.
Absolutely.
Well, let's get to the Fast 5 questions,
all right.
Terry. All right. So
better brace up, strap in.
Brace up, buddy. Put your seatbelt on. So tell me about your biggest entrepreneurial mistake or challenge that you had.
Not understanding how precious time is.
Okay.
Being my first year, not getting transactions to happen. In other words, cash flow is oxygen to a business, right? And so you've got to get on the phones. It's hard at first, right? You might be a keyboard gangster and try to get behind your keyboard and send a bunch of emails, but you've got to start communicating to people. You've got to tell people your message. You've got to start making some transactions happen, even if they're at a smaller scale, because it's easier to keep the bike moving once the pedals are going, right? You're able to balance yourself. But at first, and so I struggled that first time because I wanted to plot and scheme and get the perfect client and then build on that client. And I thought all of this stuff would matter, and it doesn't. What mattered was getting cash flow going, getting some transactions, learning, getting those first few clients that really believed in me, that understood that I might make a few mistakes. And then once that happened, it started to unfold. But I was slow. I probably wasted 6 months before I really deployed into the marketplace.
Sure. Yeah, it's our relentless act of perfection that
I
always gets in our way.
Exactly. I wanted perfection before I take a step, and unfortunately, and I knew better. The funny thing, Jeff, is maybe you could speak to that. I knew better, but yet it still paralyzed me. I was still fear held, and sometimes fear rears up at me even today.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're always going to face that. I mean, I see that always being a challenge. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. Yeah, getting on the phone sucks sometimes, but doing that or going out to networking events sometimes sucks. I don't want to go do that, but that's how I make my business work. It's where I see the biggest impact, so I have to go out and do that. No matter, people who really know me know that I'm actually a lot more introverted than extroverted, and so going to a networking event, especially one where I don't know people, is a challenge for me, and I constantly have to push myself to say, okay, I've got to find 2 people at every event that I go to so that I can do one-on-ones with them later, which feels better to me, and I get a higher impact if I do that. So you got to figure out what works best for you.
Absolutely.
To be able to do that. Okay, so question number 2. You wake up in the morning, your business is gone. You have your laptop, a $500 in your pocket, and you have food and clothing and everything else, food and shelter and all that. What would you do first?
Can I that's a tough question. I would try to figure out how to go. Could I go back into insurance, because insurance is what I love.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. That would I would.
You still have your knowledge.
Yes.
You just don't have your business.
I think insurance is a need. People don't always like it. They view it as kind of a necessary evil in some ways. But I understand it, and I would go back in insurance as fast as I could.
Good.
I'd probably do it that day, and I might do a little eBay buying and selling. I might go garage selling and try to sell stuff on eBay to make a little ends meet until I got stuff up and going. But that's probably what I do. I would not go look for a job, if that's what you're asking me.
Yeah.
I know better now at 48. I would not go look for a job.
What would you do with your $500?
My $500, I would pour it into Facebook marketing. I'd pick up, if I had my cell phone, I'd pick up my phone, tell everyone that I wish that would happen to me in some ways, because I probably would have more sense of urgency than I do even right this second. But I would pick up my phone and I would start telling people what I'm doing, and I would start spending $5 to $10 a day on Facebook ads, because I think that's the biggest opportunity before the masses get there with it. I think it's underpriced still.
Sure, fantastic. So is there a tool that you use every day, maybe like an Evernote or an internet site or anything like that you use to be effective every day that you could recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. I am trying in 2017 to be phone first, laptop second. So there are days that I go out with just my phone. When I'm talking about, if I walk into a coffee shop, I might leave the laptop in my truck. And that is because I believe I'm trying to communicate with people and work. Yes, I have to get work done on the laptop. There's still that. But when I have that laptop, it is I view it as too much of a security blanket. It's sometimes like I was going to say a noose or like a weight on me. So one of the programs that I found, and you might have to use different ones, but it's called Pipedrive. And it's $12 a month. It's very inexpensive. That's one of my best tools that I use, because I can make phone calls and log, and the iOS app is incredible. And if I can squeeze in number 2, Bom Bom video email, amazing.
That's awesome. So
there you go.
I've seen Bom Bom, so explain that.
So Bom Bom is, in simplest terms, this is not their marketing. I've figured this out on my own. Think MailChimp. So you have lists and people subscribe, and then you have video that are attached. And yes, you could put YouTube videos linked into MailChimp and that sort of thing, but there's something more powerful, because it's a branded tool, and I can send one-to-one. So I can send one-to-many like MailChimp, but I also can just pick up my phone. They have a nice mobile app, and I can record a video. I was having this exchange last night, and someone responded to me with a video. So in other words, I sent someone a video and I said, hey, thank you for being my client. I'm really looking forward to meeting you, because nowadays you do business with people you don't even meet sometimes, unfortunately. I do, just because of the way the world is. And Bom Bom allows them to hit reply with a video. They recorded a video back and introduced themselves to me, and it was awesome, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. And then we set up a meeting.
Instantly you have that connection with them that you normally wouldn't.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I don't use it for, because I'm in a financial type product, I don't use it to push information back and forth that should be communicated in an email in a more formal way, but I use it for relationship building, and so that when someone requests a quote from me and I'm starting to build that relationship, I immediately pick up my phone and give them a video introduction so they know who I am, and let them know my sense of urgency and the passion that I'm going to be working on their quote. That sort of thing.
Love it. I love this. I'd seen that one of the CRMs that are the CRM that I use for my financial practice, I saw that there was a link to Bom Bom, or that it integrates with Bom Bom.
Are you using Contactually?
No, I use WealthBox.
Okay, well, that's
yeah,
awesome.
I use WealthBox CRM, which is new. It's new for me. It's the most integrated financial CRM that I've ever seen. And I saw that it integrated with Bom Bom, and I was like, I don't know exactly what that is. And I looked on their site and just didn't dig any deeper. And you mentioned it, I remember saying it the other day, and it was in the back of my head. Yeah,
I'll send you a Bom Bom after this, Jeff, so you can see.
Awesome.
It's pretty cool. And you set up a template, and you can have different templates. I don't really get too hung up on that part of it. I get hung up on the just deploying the video, the one-to-one type connection. So, and the honest answer is, in this world, you're not sure where people are going to be seeing their email. So I probably get about an 80% open rate or like acceptance rate with it when I do one-to-one, not one-to-many.
Yeah.
And some people love it, and some people, they just don't get it. And that's okay.
That's perfectly fine. But if you're getting 80% opens, your message gets across. And if it's just simply a thank you,
absolutely.
Wow, that's a great way. I mean, I send follow-up thank you letters, but I think that's even better sometimes.
So I know I'm going maybe a little too
you're
long,
fine.
but here's so in the pyramid of communication, you have one-to-one. You've got phone call, because you're talking with someone, right? And those are asynchronous communication tools, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, that time is extremely valuable and important, but there's only so much time in the day. And what's cool about Bom Bom or video, the next level before I get, so you have one-to-one on the phone, and then I used to think handwritten notes were the next level of intimacy, and that's well, you have synchronous, which is one-to-one phone. Asynchronous is like notes, email, and then there's Bom Bom. But the more I've used a video, I realize that that's even superseded a handwritten note that you can get. I can fire off at 7 a.m. I can fire off 10 Bom Bom emails, and I have intimacy that's almost better than a phone call, because it's on their time and they're able to interact with me.
Absolutely.
And there's an interesting power thing there. Power, not from a bully power, but just from a power of like a relationship building power.
The connection, the power of connection.
Power of connection.
Excellent. So that's a couple of fantastic tools that I would recommend. And I will say, if you ever sit down with a one-on-one with Terry, have him show you how he uses Pipedrive, because I use Pipedrive for T-Werx here, and we're like we're kind of kindergarten users with it here. Terry's really a power user of that, and has really worked hard to figure out ways to use that in his business.
Absolutely.
So tell me, can you recommend a book for our listeners or our viewers that you really like to use or read?
The number one book that changed my life the most is called 7 Levels of Communication by Michael J. Mayer. I've shaken this man's, I've met this person and shook his hand in person, and it just opened my eyes to understanding how to build a referral network. And he's a realtor, has nothing to do with insurance, but yet it's like-minded. And essentially what he teaches you in the book, and I think it's like $8 on Amazon Kindle. I mean, this is really, it's not that expensive for what the value you get out of it. You assemble your own team. For example, I have what he would call ambassadors. I mean, it's similar to any other type of thing, it just spoke to me most, and that is, I view the people that send me referrals as sort of like my outside sales force. So I've got a team Grier of at least 25 people that have sent me referrals, and I treat them like gold, and they are my best, and I give my best to my best. So I give my best to the people that have helped me build my business. And I understand who they are. I understand how many referrals they give to me. I understand what their ideal client is, and I try to do the same. And there's multiple ways of doing that. But essentially, that book unlocked my understanding, because I was chasing instead of giving. And the first way you get a referral is by giving a referral, right? You got to lead with an open hand. And once I understood, and which his book taught me. Once I learned how to pick up the phone and actually ask and talk to someone without wanting something, and that is a very tough place to get to, and especially when you need to make a transaction happen, to really let go of that in your heart and just really talk to someone and ask them how you can help them. It changed my life, and it changed my approach to business.
That's outstanding. That's fantastic. It sounds like a good book.
It's a great book.
So, Terry, how do we get a hold of you? How do our viewers get a hold of you?
TerryGrier.com would be the easiest, because that's a landing page with all my social, and it's spelled TerryGrier.com. You can use my name, Terry, at striveinsurance.com. You can call me 512-948-8517. That's my iPhone. But really, where my attention is right now is number one, Facebook, Instagram, and I would say Twitter's out there too. You can find me on Twitter, or you can just call me or that sort of thing. But I'm available. I run around. I love T-Werx. I'm here. I'm in Cedar Park. Austin area. Just reach
Awesome.
out for me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
Loved hearing about your journey, and certainly thank you for the wonderful advice for our folks. So as always, folks, we'll put up a new show every Tuesday, so be looking for the next show next Tuesday. And we enjoyed having Terry out here. Below this video on our website, which is twerx.com, T-Werx.com, is going to be the show notes, so feel free to go in there. We'll have notes about the show. We'll also have links to the tools that Terry recommended, so that you can do that, and we'll also have a link to Terry's website. So make sure you go in there, and like I said, I can't recommend enough taking some time to sit down with Terry if you have a chance, whether it's for insurance or just to get to know him, because he's a cool dude.
So. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.